Or do you think that we can accept that kind of culture? Because some people will say that
we will continually be underdeveloped. That's the truth. If we don't go towards this cashless.
You know what people don't understand? We say fantastic ideas and trade somewhere, and when we bring them in, we taint it because it's almost the same thing about having some kind of credit facility that has entered some kind of double digit for the ordinary Nigerian or even the small business, even the big business. You won't definitely make it big time. So when we talk about household credit and you have that and you take a look and you see that the amount that is being taken as some form of service fee by the same bank or the financial institution is something really, uncomfortable. What do you do?
Well, I think those are matters of details that can be addressed, frankly speaking. You see, the way the household credit works is that you are given some time within which to pay. If you have like 21, 28 days after you had used it, and you don't pay, that's when you begin to attract interest charge on that credit card. If you are able to manage your finances and you are able to at least pay off within the 28 day period, of course, you will not be attracting a lot of charges and fees. But of course, there's no free lunch because it's a credit card.
I think it will be interesting to see because, as I said, I told you that banks have already started making those calls to some of their customers they believe are eligible.
Okay.
It would be nice to see, what percentage of Nigerians are accepting the credit cards and which ones are not.
But for me, that's a veritable area whereby we can jumpstart this economy, frankly speaking. And like I said, we need to look more inwards, endogenous development growth model.
What about the banks performing what some describe as the core banking functions of funding key sectors?
That's another area.
SMEs.
Yeah, I agree with you completely on that area. Banks have been too cautious about trying to mitigate risk and not wanting to be unduly exposed to what you might call risky businesses. But we have risk management departments of banks who should be able to analyze a credit and look at how to mitigate the inherent risk in those businesses. If you don't have that as a bank, then you're not yet there. Because that's the only way this economy can grow. Banks have to be bullish about investing or supporting the risk sector. If you don't do that, we just keep going around in circles.
Because just thinking about several economies, how after the introduction of TSA, we understand there were some who were shaken because they hadn't been performing those kind of functions. Several franchises across the world, these are the things that banks ought to do, but do you see that happening? Because some of them give reasons saying, well, we get our funds on a short-term basis from CBN, and as such, we can't give long-term loans because we don't have that facility. Is that how it works?
Well, frankly speaking, the Pension Act had given us a leeway in that area, assessing long-term funds, and I believe we have a pool of long-term funds that banks should be able to access, apart from mobilizing savings, which are also long-term in nature. So the idea of not being able to match funding with assets class or asset type should not be a thing that we should be talking about in this dispensation.
Because the other day in the news, it was said that the president had directed that institutions, they should begin to focus on entrepreneurial studies.
Exactly.
So that when people come out, they can have something to do rather than just wait for a white-collar jobs. But if they go about it and they don't have the funds to back it up, it's a challenge.
Let me tell you this. My daughter, I'm sorry I have to bring this out. She did a study in her final year degree program about the financial system robustness as a catalyst for economic growth and development, using the Canadian experience as a case study. You'll be surprised how this interrelationship work out. Because if we are saying the economy is not growing, but the drivers of the economic growth in the nation are the financial institutions, including the regulatory body, the central bank. When you align all of these policies and the operators are able to work together in sync, you'll be amazed at what level of growth we can achieve. Because in such situations, banks are now able to see the opportunities in various monetary policies that government is, that the CBN is bringing out, and how they can align themselves with that by funding entrepreneurial, innovative products, new knowledge, and all that. That is key. Those are key areas we need to be looking at, and that's why I said if you look at the independent variables of the growth equation, you cannot but look at those areas: household credit, entrepreneurial development activities, technological development, innovations, and all that. These are frontiers that we can look at and which banks should be able to support. If banks are still shying away from those areas of ventures, then we are going nowhere. That's the truth.
Well, just wondering though, as an investor, and people still looking at 2016 as a year that's going to be tough, what will you be asking people who intend to invest their money to look?
You see, an investor, if you're an investor, then you should be an investor and not a day trader. An investor is somebody who is looking at the long term. You are looking at the asset class. What income growth are you looking at? I mean, you have to balance it. If you're a day trader who wants to just take advantage of opportunities, it's a different ball game. An investor's focus is long term. Capital markets is long term, certainly. So you can't be saying because the situation is today. In fact, if anything, the way the market is right now is a good opportunity for people to come in. Because a lot of the strong companies on the market are being priced below their fair value. So, I mean, any reasonable investor or rational investor will want to take advantage at this point in time. Because growth is coming. Let's be clear about that. If you are putting about 30% of the 6.08 trillion budget into capital expenditure, certainly, and you are looking at infrastructural development projects, there's no way the growth will not come. There's no way.
In other words, what would that be your overall economic outlook for 2016?
I'm bullish, frankly. I'm bullish. I watched clip of some economists that you have spoken to in time past. Bernard Dekwe on the bullish side also. Opemiagbaje, a bit bearish. Bismarck, I mean, middle of the road. Of course, I mean, economists will always, digress or differ depending on how they are looking at issues. But for me, I am bullish, frankly. I think this year is a year of growth, and anybody who wants to really reap in this economy should position himself.
The oil prices notwithstanding?
For me, that is telling us to be much more, we should be more proactive, scenario planning. What if situations? We are saying it is $36 right now. If it goes down by another $5 or $15 as IMF has predicted or projected, what do we do? I believe looking inwards, there are a lot of avenues where we can raise domestic revenues to fund this project. That's the truth. If we ignore the areas of waste that we've had to contend with in time past, this economy is quite huge. And don't forget the Federal Inland Revenue Board is already looking at those taxable group that are not yet in the tax bracket right now. And I think they are doing a lot of good work in that area to bring in a lot of people in that.
Without using the word increase, Mr. Dele Joda, investment and financial consultant, thank you for your time today. Well, just before we go, I'd like to also bring this news to you that fire did break out in a major market in Yola, that's Nigeria's northeast region. No life, thankfully, was lost. And then it broke out at about 3 a.m. and fire service were battling to see how they could put that fire out. So just some advisory for you there. Well, that's how we end the program here today. We also thank you for your comments as well. We'll be back tomorrow. I'm Chamberlain also.
Well, thank you so much, Amaupe Ogun.
Many thanks. I'm Sulaiman Alede. See you again.